Ladies and gentlemen, how's it going today? I am the Digital Hamm, and today I'm going to be starting a new video series called Hamm's Top 5. In this video series, I will actually take my favorite top 5 movies out of my favorite genres. I will go over them one by one, from 5 all the way down to my number 1 top pick. I will go over the basis of the film. I'm not going to go into great detail, but I will go over some of the reasons why I like the film and my personal opinion of it. So starting off with number 5, I have Terminator 2 Judgment Day. This movie was released in July of 1991. It is a fantastic film, written, directed, and produced by James Cameron himself. It is the second film in the series of all the Terminator films they have now, but it is a continuance of the story from the first film, which was called Terminator. This movie, for me, is fantastic because I remember when I saw it, it was, I think, the next year, 92, when I watched it. The movie was fantastic. There's a number of different reasons why I like the film, and I'm going to go over those with you. For one, it was the first movie that I can think of that really broke ground with the CGI incorporation in film. Not small little things. I mean, we're talking a T-1000. Pretty much how he manipulated himself and all these different transitions they used in the film, and the fact that they held up on the screen. It was just fantastic. The film really broke a lot of ground as far as that is concerned, the CGI side. One of the second things is Arnold Schwarzenegger. This is one of my favorite actors, and I know that a lot of people are like, he is a crappy actor, you know, he's got a horrible accent, all this other stuff. For me, I love him. I grew up in the 90s. Most of the films that I watched growing up were Rambo, Terminator 2 Judgment Day, Terminator, these action flicks, Sylvester Stallone, Charles Bronson. So these are Jean-Claude Van Damme. Sorry, I had to put him in there. These were films that were the action, atypical, big, bad, burly dudes that pretty much ruled the silver screens during the 80s and 90s. And so just out of directly liking him and liking all of his movies, Commando, and the list goes on and on, I just started liking him. He's cool. He's jacked up, you know? So anyways, the film was fantastic. The taglines that came out of this film were epic. They still are. Hasta la vista, baby. You know, get in the chopper, which really wasn't in that film, but he's just started these quotes that were pulled out of this film, and it hasn't stopped. These films are still referenced in one way, shape, or form. The storyline, really quickly. There's a war between Skynet and human beings. Pretty much, they try to build these robots. These robots go back and become self-aware, and they start carrying out their own orders, start destroying mankind as a whole. So they go back they go from the future back into time, and they're trying to change the course of how history unfolds. That is in the first film, actually, Arnold Schwarzenegger was actually there to kill Connor, which was, what's her name? God, I just went blank. Anyways, so he goes back into time. He's there to kill her. The new one, which would have been Terminator 2, he's there to protect her. Sarah Connor. Sorry, that took forever. And so it's a crazy storyline, fantastic. It's written, directed, and produced by James Cameron himself. And I would most definitely give you all the props in the world to check it out. Please check it out. It's fantastic. So that's my number 5 spot. At number 4, I have Back to the Future. There's a number of different reasons why I choose this film, mainly because the nostalgia feel for me and the memories that I have attached to this film. It's one of the first films that I can remember as a kid that had an impact on me. I loved the 50s. I thought it was cool. The integration of the 80s and the 50s and all the cool cars they had in the film, and I don't know, just the nostalgic feel of it really, it kind of hit a home run with me. So, Michael J. Fox, Christopher Lloyd, Michael J. Fox playing Marty McFly, Christopher Lloyd playing Doc. The story is pretty much Michael J. Fox gets into a time machine that was built by Doc, Christopher Lloyd, and he goes back in time to 1955. At this point in time in this town, he runs into his mother and his father. They haven't met. He's trying to stand up for he wants to stand up for his mom and dad, but at the same time, if he does, certain things can happen and he could possibly be deleted because they might not meet each other, whatever it may be. So that's pretty much the storyline. He's trying to get back into the present or back to the future. And it's just a fantastic film. I do enjoy the other films that came after it, but this is the big one. This is the one that I enjoy the most. So, great score. It's got a DeLorean in it. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. It was a car that I fantasized for so long about when I was a kid. I enjoyed the living crud out of it. So here we go. That's my number 4 spot, is Back to the Future. Check it out. Phenomenal film. Number 3. And I gotta say this, I know this sounds really horrible coming from a big giant nerd, but number 3 for me is really sad. Blade Runner. And the reason I'm saying it's sad is I'm ashamed to say that I just saw this movie not that long ago. I actually picked it up. I was at Walmart with my wife, and we were just looking around the movies, the Blu-rays and everything. And this is right when Blu-ray started becoming like the big giant thing. So I went in. So I was like, Blade Runner, man, I've never seen that. I need to sit down and check that out. And I'm like, can I justify the money for a movie that I've never seen? So I said, screw it, roll the dice. And I picked up the movie, sat down, watched it, and was completely blown away at how fantastic it was. The storyline, the acting, everything about it was just fantastic. So it was directed by Ridley Scott, which pretty much for me, that's period. Ridley Scott, period. There's not many films that I've ever seen that Ridley Scott has done that I haven't enjoyed. So the fact that I saw that, and at the time I really didn't even know who produced it or anything or directed it. I just saw that it was Harrison Ford. I knew that it was like a cult classic, so I was like, I'll just pick it up. This movie is just amazing. It's the storyline behind it is actually pulled out of a novel written by Philip Dick. I'm sorry, his name makes me laugh. You said Dick. Anyways, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep was the actual name of the novel that they pulled the storyline from. And it pretty much is an account of Harrison Ford's character is pretty much like a detective that goes out and tries to find replicants. Replicants are pretty much androids. They are so hard to distinguish between humans that there has to be a person, a detective, that has to go through a series of tests to distinguish whether they're a replicant or a human. At that point in time, they have to terminate them. But pretty much in the storyline, these replicants were set up on different planets to harvest materials, and they somehow found their way back to the Earth. Once they got in the Earth, it was really hard to track them down because they just blend in. So Harrison Ford is sit in to take care of that problem and try to clear everything up and get rid of these replicants that I mean, they're androids. They can kill people very simply. They're extremely strong. So that's pretty much the basis of that film. It's a masterpiece, in my opinion. It's an absolute masterpiece. Well worth every freaking, let's see here, every minute of 116 minutes. It's worth it. I would watch it over and over again, and I constantly do. So that's my number 3 spot, is Blade Runner. Number 2, Jurassic Park. Fantastic film. I know I say fantastic entirely too much, but this really is probably a number 2 in any genre. It doesn't even just have to be science fiction. This film is fantastic. Written, the storyline was written in a novel by Michael Crichton. It was groundbreaking at the time in 1993 with CGI. The film grossed. It's the highest gross film of all time, except for The Force Awakens. It's gonna blow some numbers out. Anyway, so it's just a fantastic film. Jeff Goldblum being in it. Let's see here. I'm just pulling this up so I can see. Laura Dern, Sam Neill. These are a couple of the actors and actresses that were in the film, or actress in the film. The one thing I will say about this film is it did not have the huge stars in the film. The biggest one that I knew about when I was a kid was Jeff Goldblum. And I like Jeff Goldblum. I like the films that he'd done. So I really was drawn to it. And that was about the only one that I knew. Sam Neill, even though he's amazing, in my opinion, it was kind of like a break role for him. He had other movies before that I'd never even really seen. But that one, he kind of got put on the map big time with that film. The score, done by John Williams, the same guy who did Jaws and E.T. and Star Wars and Indiana Jones, and the list goes on and on and on and on. But the score in this movie, just like in Star Wars, is just, it's not separated. There are some films that I watched that I don't even know the score's there, because the score really doesn't even play a part in the movie. This movie, the intro, the scenes in this film, I can hear them and know exactly what scene it is. It's just that incorporated, and it's so fantastic. So, of course, the storyline, genetically engineered dinosaurs. They get the DNA from mosquitoes that are actually trapped in amber. And they're trying to get the park to open, and pretty much everybody dies before they get the opportunity to. Not everybody, but it goes chaotically awry. So anyways, there it is. That's number 2. Jurassic Park, one of my favorite films of all time. Number 1 is Star Wars. I say Star Wars and I pause. A New Hope. Out of all the 6 films, A New Hope is probably my favorite. The reason being, you have the establishment and the introduction of Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker being young. In the film, it doesn't really tell you how old he is, but I would imagine like 16, 17 years old, trying to find his way in life, and the fact that he's stuck on a planet where he doesn't want to be, being a farmer, where he wants to be out in the galaxy fighting, against evil. The constant doubt in himself, even in the other films, and finally in Return of the Jedi, he starts establishing himself and kind of trusting in himself. But Obi-Wan, I mean, come on, just the film is my favorite, and it's the first one that I ever saw, so it has a huge emotional tie to me. And I'm a Star Wars fanatic, so there's not really much else to say about that film. I mean, it's Star Wars. I could go into great detail, but most people know. And so there it is, ladies and gentlemen. My number one pick is Star Wars A New Hope for my number one top. Just to let you know, I will be coming out with, I'm trying to do these once a week, and I'm also going to be releasing some other stuff. If you guys would like, please hit that subscribe button. Please give me a thumb up. Please give me a comment if you don't mind. I greatly appreciate you guys' time. I really do. And I hope that you guys will follow me on Facebook. I actually have a Facebook now. Check it out. I will have it linked in the bottom, in the comments, or in the description section. Once again, thanks. Comment, like, subscribe, and of course, have a great day.